So what is holistic health? Okay. I mean, it's all of these things. It's diet, it's supplements, hugely important. It's herbal medicine, it's exercise, it's lifestyle. It's the mind-body connection, nature connection, personal cultural repair, and more. I'm going to talk about those last three now. The first is personal cultural repair. So what is personal cultural repair? And how do you foster it? And how do you foster it both in yourself, and how do you foster it in your patients? So it's connecting people to nature to inspire personal and global regeneration. Whoa, personal and global regeneration, that's huge, but it is. So you're gonna start with personal regeneration, right? Global regeneration is a big thing. But the more people that get connected to nature, the more, and to their communities and to themselves, the more it can filter out into the world and change some of our Western mindset into a more connected mindset. And much of this information comes from the studies of intact indigenous cultures. There are not a lot of intact indigenous cultures left. Now, in the late 1960s, there was a study done, there was a medical profile done of the Jukulinsi Bushmen, or the Kung as they're often called, in Botswana. This is one of the groups, language groups that I work with. They found out that there was no alcohol consumption, no suicide, it was non-existent. Injury from interpersonal violence was rare. And in this Harvard study, they found there were very little psychological or physiological conditions. Now, why? First of all, they're eating wild foods. They're living in the present moment. And for the most part, they're hugely connected. So the Kalahari Bushmen whom this study was done on, is the community I work with is still an intact culture. That community actually has chosen to live in the bush when most of that community or the communities around them have been forced into settlements. This community has chosen to stay living in the bush. They're intergenerational. There's great-grandmothers living with great-grandnephews and great-grandnieces. And the younger people are now being brought up. There was a big cultural gap, but the younger people are now being brought up the same way that their grandparents were, because they've realized how important their culture is and how important it is to their physiological and physical health and well-being. So this disconnection from self and others and nature, it goes along with living in a fragmenting world like we live in. Our Western world lacks community support structures. This leads to, I believe, mental, spiritual, and physical health problems. We're in a health crisis, and we're co-located, but we're disconnected. Personal cultural repair helps with this reconnection. And if your patients are lacking connection, it's probably a big portion of why they're ill. It's certainly a piece in the puzzle.